Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, first, good evening. It's Thursday, and if you want to catch up with all the news of the day before you go late night shopping, it's all here for you before 5:30. Coming up, budget reform has been in the spotlight this week. We'll find out what's been decided. Also tonight, some festive fire advice. We speak to a fundraiser who, at the age of 96, has taken on quite the challenge to raise money for one of the island's historic assets. And our managing director here at Manx Radio has had quite the outing today. All will be revealed. All that, plus we'll keep an eye on the traffic and travel and the weather as well. And if you'd like to get in touch, text 166 177, or you can email us studio@manxradio.com. First, Siobhan has a roundup of today's main news headlines. Faster Mai.
An Oncan MHK claims to have identified a flaw in plans to provide affordable housing on the Isle of Man. It comes after government made a commitment to build or facilitate 1,000 new affordable homes on the island over the next decade. Rob Callister is also chair of the planning committee.
You could support somebody on a low to medium salary to be able to obtain an apartment. Then you have the problem of the unknown factor, which is management charges.
Concerns have been raised about the impact of the shutdown of the island's copper telecom network on Carephone users. Switch off will begin next year. Adorn, Home Care and Carephone says all of their devices are digital ready, but the others might not be. Manx Telecom says more information will be sent out by post in the new year, and third-party organisations are assisting in the programme. Douglas Council is looking to trial permanently pedestrianising part of North Quay to encourage footfall and growth in the area. Leader of Douglas Council, Claire Wells, says the scheme would allow business owners to invest further in the area around them.
At the end of the day, we're trying something. If it doesn't work, then we'll look at it again, and that's what all of this is about. Nothing is set in stone, but if we don't try something, we'll never know.
Police have confirmed they found a teenager who they were searching for earlier, safe and well. The 16-year-old had been missing from the Castletown area since 9 p.m. last night. A fundraising campaign has been launched to support a Manx Grand Prix rider injured at this year's event. Chris Moffat was involved in a serious incident at Ballacry during the second lap of the Junior MGP race on Saturday the 24th of August. And children, adults and even a donkey will be performing a nativity on North Quay in Douglas tonight. Christmas Live has been organised by the church and Douglas City Council in a bid to add to the festive spirit for Christmas shoppers. Further afield, the first payouts following the infected blood scandal are being handed out, with 10 victims to receive £13 million between them. More than 30,000 people were given blood contaminated with HIV and hepatitis C between the 1970s and early 90s. Around 3,000 died. The NHS says it's dealing with a tidal wave of flu infections. The Health Service in England says it's led to a 70% increase in hospital cases in just 7 days. And Selena Gomez has revealed she's engaged to music producer Benny Blanco. The actress and singer shared a photo of her ring on Instagram. They're your headlines. I'll be back with your news at 6.
Thank you very much indeed, Siobhan. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Cloudy, the odd spot of drizzle at times this evening. Light winds, though, staying quite mild overnight. Temperatures no lower than 7. And another generally cloudy day tomorrow. A continued risk of some light rain or drizzle developing at times. Winds staying light, temperatures around 9 in the afternoon. And just looking ahead to the weekend, clear and sunny at first on Saturday, but it will soon turn cloudy with a spell of rain arriving later in the day. A moderate to fresh west or northwest wind that will increase fresh to strong for a time. Sunset this evening was at 3:55. Sunrise tomorrow morning 8:30.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Cannell's Agricultural Supplies have been serving the good folk of the north for over 30 years, supplying homegrown wheats, whole and rolled oats, working clothing, fencing, animal feeds, parts, tools and emergency supplies. Call Julia on 880206 or find Cannell's on Facebook.
Patricia Wild Opticians is celebrating over 30 years of friendly, caring service in Farm Hill and Ramsey. Visit us for professional eye care with stress-free parking. Phone Patricia Wild Opticians on 813 977.
For over 25 years, Langness Maintenance Services have been the block paving specialists, including property maintenance, fencing and landscaping. Fast, reliable and competitive. For a free no-obligation quote, call Paddy on 49667. Langness Maintenance Services, 49667.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio. Now, as I mentioned, in Tynwald this week, budget reform was on the agenda. The process of publishing the Pink Book on the same day that it's debated in court has been criticised a number of times, with complaints that politicians and the public don't have enough time to properly scrutinise its contents. Well, Russian MHK June Watterson was hoping to have the documents published weeks ahead of the February sitting, but his amendment to that motion was shot down. Meanwhile, a select committee on the role of the legislature in the budget process has been formed, and it consists of 5 members. Here's how the debate on budget reform went down, starting with Mr Watterson.
Getting a lecture on budget reform from Treasury is a bit like getting a lecture from Mr Thomas on brevity. There's absolutely no track record of success in the field. The idea of a select committee is a complete waste of this court's time. I would rather see the whole motion fail than set up a select committee. If Treasury cannot even accept a 1-month delay between announcement of the budget and debating and voting on it, then I don't see how it would accept anything that any select committee could possibly bring forward.
I wouldn't want to rush into a process of budget reform. I appreciate Mr Speaker has been living this particular nightmare for the best part of 2 decades, but for most members in this honourable court, we haven't. And so there is definitely a case to say you probably do want some sort of committee to think about how this is going to work so it reflects the views of Tynwald Court rather than just the views of one individual member. The concern I have actually is the kind of emotive element of the Chief Minister's response leads me to believe that whatever a select committee recommends, the government isn't going to accept it.
Hear, hear.
And that does concern me a bit. So I'm tabling an amendment here, partly because I think the Treasury Minister has made a technical error in his amendment. He says that it is Tynwald's main role to review and debate the government's draft budget. Technically, it's Tynwald's job to approve that budget. That is what we do. We don't just debate it, we approve it. So I think changing that word is quite important, even though it is only a minor change.
In terms of the comment from Mr Hooper, I'm not particularly happy with the budget process at the moment. It can be extremely demanding on Treasury officers and Treasury members, and I think if we can try to improve that for the benefit of everyone, that will also be for the benefit of us as well. This is not an attempt to lose progressive reform in the long grass, but without gathering further information from officers who administer the financial systems we rely upon and the people these changes affect, we risk not seeing the wood for the trees. For that reason, I'm unfortunately unable to support the amendment from the Honourable Member for Mr Russian. Honourable Member for Russian, Mr Speaker. But I am happy to vote with the amendment from the Honourable Member for Ramsey, Mr Hooper, which I think just clarifies that hopefully budgets in the future will pass the muster and be approved.
That's Mr Ramsey. Treasury Minister Dr Alex Allinson there. We also heard from the other Mr Ramsey, Laurie Hooper, and Mr Russian, June Watterson. 8.5 minutes past 5. Now, an MHK has identified a flaw in plans to provide affordable housing on the Isle of Man. This comes as government's made a commitment to build or facilitate 1,000 new affordable homes on the island in the next decade. Well, Oncan MHK Rob Callister is also chair of the planning committee, and he says when buying leaseholds or apartments, building management costs are not always factored into the affordability of the property.
It's 25% of any unit above 8. That's very clear, very transparent. However, if you actually look at apartments, there is a bit of a problem with the department. So you could support somebody on a low to medium salary to be able to obtain an apartment. Then you have the problem of the unknown factor, which is management charges. So suddenly somebody on a low to medium salary have secured their first property and then suddenly realise they're going to be hit with a management fee, which government at the time of when helping and supporting somebody does not know what the figure will be. So that is why a lot of focus is actually on properties. Plus, a lot of banks and even the government want to actually support people who are getting a freehold, not a leasehold. So that opens up another legal issue that needs to be reviewed. I'm fully in favour of people on low to medium salaries being able to access any type of property, and that includes apartment. But we do have to address some of the concerns around leasehold. We do have to address some of the concerns around the actual management charges. So in this instance, the actual local authority said, could we possibly take the commuted sum in respect of our support? Now, I asked that question during the planning meeting, and it was very clear that any local authority, if they find a suitable site to offset the commuted sum, could apply to Treasury for that amount and to provide some local authority or affordable housing within the area. So that the money is there, it's up to them to apply for it and to put the business case. Technically, the money could be assigned for upgrading that social housing they've already got. So they could take the money and then decide to invest in the current stock. So there's a lot of options open to the local authorities. I know a lot of people get stuck up when they sort of see a development and then believe that the money's just disappeared and there isn't going to be affordable housing. There is options to local authorities to access those funds. And I would encourage any local authority on the island, if they've got a scheme coming or if they want to put additional social housing in their area, then to speak to Treasury and see if they can actually access some of these commuted sums, because they are there to support people in the way of deficiency payments, in the way of building costs. So there's a lot of options there.
Oncan MHK Rob Hollister. 11 and a half minutes past 5. The Isle of Man Fire and Rescue Service is advising people how to avoid any sorts of unwanted fire this Christmas. Now, the main thing is to be extra vigilant as the number of hazards in your home increase. In the past year, 70% of fires have started in the kitchen. Leading firefighter Richard Little is a fire prevention officer.
If it creates heat, like a room heater or like an iron, hairdryer, kettle, they need to be plugged into a wall socket, not an extension lead, because extension leads are only designed to power like 13 amps. Because if you plug it into an extension, there's a risk of that extension overloading, causing a fault and overheating, potentially starting a fire. Low-powered items, computers, chargers, lamps, things like that, TVs, they're fine in extensions, but there is that risk of overloading them. I do go to fires where people have overloaded their sockets, and as you can imagine, the results are devastating. There's also the temptation to daisy chain extensions at Christmas, especially. I think I need some more sockets for all my lights and all my charging. They're not designed to do that. You're going to overload them, cause a fault and start a fire. I think last year about 70% of house fires we attended originated in the kitchen. The second common cause of fires that we attend from house fires is an electrical fault. So that is very important to bear that in mind. Make sure your sockets, anything electrical, isn't covered by, your papers or Christmas decorations.
And I understand for people that could have some concerns, they can also kind of track.
They can conduct their own home fire safety check. We've got this website, SafeLinks with a C, so SAFELINCS.co.uk/HFSC/. It's a short yes-no questions that you can answer, and it builds a little profile of the type of property you live in, the type of people that live in that property, anything like that, so it can calculate the risk, basically. And then it goes through each room independently in your house. It gives advice as you go along for each room, and it creates this little report at the end. So a lot of fire safety can be assumed to be common sense, but it does happen a lot. So go through it. It takes 10 minutes, but it could make a really big difference for you and your household.
That is firefighter Richard Little. We'll post that link to the website that he was talking about there, because if you manage to get it down, I'd be very impressed.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, nothing specific we're aware of on the road, so hopefully your drive home should be okay. Just bear in mind it will be busy around Douglas because it's late night shopping tonight. All looking pretty good down at the airport. Now, the steam packet, we know there are issues with the tidal conditions in Heysham at the moment. It's beyond the steam packet's control, but this evening's sailing is not able to go. Anybody who was due to be on that or the return is able to amend their booking free of charge. And we know that there are issues, as I say, beyond their control, but all the details you can find them at manxradio.com and click on our traffic and travel hub.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
Now, if you were in the south of the island this morning, you may have seen a black and yellow coloured helicopter operating with a lifeboat off the coast. This was part of a joint training exercise between the Port St Mary RNLI and the Royal Air Force from RAF Valley. RMD Chris Pearson joined them in the crew room of the Port St Mary lifeboat station.
You can all go and get into PPE, please.
Full-time RNLI Port St Mary coxswain and mechanic Morgan Guy briefs his team ahead of today's exercise with the RAF.
Yeah, my name is Rob Marshall. I am mechanic on board the vessel today. My job is basically to man the radios and all communications and obviously all machinery and equipment on the boat, including the engines. So what will happen today is the helicopter will contact us on the VHF. We'll then communicate that. They'll tell us what they wish us to do.
It's the helicopter that will give you the direction and the speed?
Correct, yes.
Port St Mary lifeboat Whirlwind. 213 be with you in about 5 minutes. Is that you about 3 miles southwest of the lifeboat station?
213, yeah, Port St Mary lifeboat. Yes, that's correct, that is us. Yeah, we're just here ready and waiting for you.
A Jupiter helicopter from RAF Valley and Anglesey was inbound to carry out a joint winching exercise with the team from Port St Mary. RNLI and RAF practiced winching under various circumstances, from slow ahead for the lifeboat to a 20-knot high-speed winch. Dave Brown was the man at the end of the line and briefed the RNLI team after each lift.
If you guys are happy, I'll go back up to the helicopter. Yeah. I'll collect the high line. I'll come back down. We'll deploy the high line and we'll get it established. You can work through people just by transferring a set of strops to the aircraft and back down again. And then once everybody's happy, as a little bit of a consolidation, then I can go up and come down again, leaving you guys to tend the high line by yourself. Yeah, and then we've done it a little bit with me here, and then a little bit without me here, and then we'll probably all feel fairly confident then. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, sound.
The operation involved the helicopter approaching and hovering at an angle of 40 degrees to the direction of lifeboat travel. Lieutenant Commander Mark Scott, a reservist Navy pilot flying with the Royal Air Force, had the job of tracking the Port St Mary lifeboat.
So we had a really experienced crew on board the RNLI boat, and I know it's been a while since they've operated with a helicopter, but they were phenomenal today. They were really, really good.
Laura Cordner, who works for a bank, was one of the Port St Mary team aboard the Trent-class lifeboat.
I love it. Just the opportunities to get to do these things and to play a big part in it is just unbelievable every day.
And certainly, as far as training goes, what does that bring to it to be able to do things like the helicopters?
Training is so important. Before we do this, we all watch helicopter training, which we all did last night just to refresh us, to remind us what we're going into. It's not every day that we get to go out with the helicopter, so it is important to keep that knowledge up.
Well, how exciting did that sound? And we will have some video footage from on board the lifeboat on the Manx Radio website and socials tomorrow morning. Chris Pearson gets all the good jobs. 17 minutes past 5. How is this for inspiring then? Over the past few months, a 96-year-old man from Douglas has undertaken a walking challenge to each of the island's lighthouses and harbour lights, and all in aid of the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust. Vincent Watkins, who's walked the length of Douglas Promenade almost every day for decades, also completed the length of the Peel to Douglas Heritage Trail. And yesterday he handed over the money he raised to the charity. Our Lewis Foster was there to ask him how he was able to walk as far as he has.
Oh, I've been walking around the island looking at, having my photograph taken at the lighthouses. And at the moment there's 26 of them.
So you've walked a heck of a way. How,
yeah.
Have you always walked?
Oh, I'm always walking there, yeah. I'm walking up and down the prom all the time, yeah.
That's Douglas Promenade every day, is it?
Yeah, so I I'm on it all the time.
As part of the fundraising journey, you walked from Peel to Douglas, is that right?
Oh, I did, yeah.
How did that go?
You're not good at the end.
I've done it myself and it's a struggle. How was it at 96 years of age?
Yeah, well, I wasn't so bad until, just after St John's. About the last 5 mile and all. Then I started to feel it, like. And when we got to Peel, the wind was that strong, man, and I was, of course, I had reached the end of my tether anyway, and the wind was that strong, the temperature was practically blow me over, yeah.
I can imagine. And why the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust?
Well, yeah, I can't understand how they don't get money, It's amazing, for volunteers and so forth, isn't it? And no money, And I think they're doing a grand job, but that's all it is. They said about setting up a challenge, so I didn't care. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, I couldn't have done it without them, because they tell me where to go, they do the photographs, and I drive. You see, so I don't do anything. I only go and have my photo took.
So it's a family effort.
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, Vincent Watkins talking to Lewis there. Just go over to the Manx Radio website or the Facebook page. There's a lovely video and a link as well if you'd just like to throw a few pounds in the direction of the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust and do it for Vincent Watkins. He was an incredible person. It would be very much appreciated. Just gone 5:20. If you are heading into Douglas for some late night Christmas shopping tonight, you might hear some carols and a familiar festive story. Christmas Live is getting underway outside St Matthew's Church on North Quay shortly. It'll be around 6:30, telling the story of the Nativity with the help of the Salvation Army Band and a donkey from the Home of Rest for Old Horses. Manx Radio's Judith Lay has been speaking to organiser Reverend Alex Brown and the Pioneer Ministry and Douglas City Manager Oliver Cheshire.
Christmas Live is a live nativity where we have adults and children and live animals, and we have the Salvation Army Band, and basically we will do what you expect from the nativity story. And you turn up and we sing traditional Christmas carols and we unfold the Christmas story. Emma Nudd from Broadway and myself will be narrating the story, and the cast just kind of follow what happens, and in between all that we sing carols. This time we've got the Salvation Army Band, who are very used to playing Christmas carols, and it means it sounds really authentically Christmassy as well. It's really good.
Now, Oliver Cheshire, all through the year, your work is making shoppers and visitors to Douglas have the best experience, isn't it?
That's right, yes. So we put a series of events on throughout the year and obviously work closely with the businesses in the city centre.
You've chosen a late night shopping night for Christmas Live. So is that to really give people an opportunity to go in the shops and then come and finish it off with something really seasonal?
Definitely. Such a nice way to get in the Christmas spirit as well. I don't think anything better than a nativity.
Is it important to you that it has very traditional elements, that it reaches out to people of all faiths and no faith?
100%, and obviously working with Alex, he always pulls together such a fantastic show. I love it over the weeks hearing different things he's added, and obviously he's got all the different churches within Douglas involved, and more than I think we've ever had before. It's fantastic.
Will there be any live animals?
Thanks to Mr. Brown, the will. So we've got White Jack the donkey, and I think he's at 5 or 6 sheep, Alex.
Farmer Ian, who gave us our super fluffy sheep last time we did it, we've got some sheep bred as pets, and our donkey, White Jack, is coming from the Home for Old Horses just on Richmond Hill.
We've got Spinning Vanning coming again this year, and they were fantastic last time, doing a fire spinning and stuff, so that always adds a fantastic spectacle.
Sounds too good. You are in for a real treat if you are shopping in Douglas tonight. Rob Pritchard, please, can I have a pet sheep for Christmas?
That's not a request I was expecting. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sport then.
All right, starting with boxing, there have been some date and venue changes to the respective fights this weekend for Isle of Man pro boxers Jay Burden and Jamie Devine. Both were due to fight this Sunday at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool, but the show has been cancelled by its organisers, VIP Boxing Promotions. As a result, Burden's bout against Kerry Autumn will now be held at the Eastside Rooms Conference Centre in Birmingham on the same day, so Sunday, with the Island Fighters team laying on transport as well for supporters. Meanwhile, Devine's contest against Jairo Fernando Duran will take place on the undercard of the Collision Course event, which is being promoted by Boxer, which is a day earlier on Saturday at the Exhibition Centre, Liverpool. The alterations follow that announcement from VIP Boxing Promotions promoter Steve Wood on the organisation's YouTube channel this week that the occasion wouldn't be going ahead, so some changes to bear in mind there. Meanwhile, talented Manx cyclist Ruby Oakes has been signed by UCI Women's Continental Team Das Hutchinson Brother UK. Stepping into the squad's under-23 side, Oakes becomes the youngest member of the team for the 2025 season. During the 2024 campaign, Oakes was part of Shipton Apex RT, with whom she finished 7th in the youth points at the Rasnamorn in Ireland in September. And among her other notable performances, she finished 15th in the junior women's road race at this year's British National Championships in June and claimed 6th spot at the Ghent-Wevelgem Juniors race in Belgium in April. In 2023, Oakes was one of 2 cyclists to represent the Isle of Man at the Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago, where she claimed bronze medals in both the women's time trial and women's road race. And in motorsport, a fundraising campaign has been launched to support a Manx Grand Prix rider injured at this year's event. Chris Moffat was involved in a serious incident at Ballacry during the second lap of the junior MGP race on the 24th of August and has been updating followers on his recovery progress in recent weeks. Well, the competitor says his sick pay has now ended and his brother has set up a GoFundMe page appealing for donations to help Moffat financially as he continues his rehabilitation. As of this afternoon, more than £1,700 of the £5,000 target has been generated. In a previous update last week, Moffat stated he spent more than 7 weeks at the Sid Watkins Rehabilitation Centre at the Walton Centre in Liverpool after previously spending 5 weeks at Nobles Hospital on Ireland.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. As ever, the generosity of the public is phenomenal, things like this. Also in motorsport news, we've heard today that Jake Roberts is going to be passenger for George Holden. That is John Holden's son, who is racing next year. So we're hoping to find out all about that. An exciting season there. That is all from Update this evening. You can, as always, find out much more about all tonight's top stories on our Manx Radio website. And if you have thoughts, we'd more than welcome them to be sent to us. newsroom@manxradio.com is the best email address to get in touch if there's a news story happening in your area. You can also comment on our social media pages as well. Coming up at 5:30, it's an Island Life special. In its 200th anniversary year, Lewis goes out on an exercise with the RNLI. Then Chris Kinley's here live from 6 p.m. with Greatest Hits. Maurice Powell brings you a little light music from 9, and then Rianne is here with After Hours from 10. Whatever you're doing this evening, have a good one. I'll be back with the morning show from 9 tomorrow, and Update will be with you from 5 p.m.